So today we're going to find out, can we cook the perfect steak in a sous vide? So welcome back, my name is Lee from Lever's Kitchen and I am finally back now. I've been off the last 4 months. I broke my ankle and I was staying at my parents'. I didn't feel comfortable actually filming there because it was their house. So I'm back now and I'm ready to start filming. Now, I took advantage of a sale and I've invested in a sous vide machine because I want to do some chocolate in it, but I'm doing steak tonight and I thought I'd try it out. Can we get the most amazing steak with a sous vide machine? So all a sous vide machine is it's a circulator that heats up the water to a set temperature and it keeps it at that, and it's meant to make the most amazing steak. So this is the sous vide machine here. So it's got a clip on the back so it will stand up in your pot, and what will happen is there's an element in here and the water will circulate through this and warm the water up to your set temperature. You got your controls on here. This has also got the app as well, so I'll be using that today. So this is the Inkbird brand. So I was going to go for another brand that is always on Facebook and they had a 50% off sale, but they make you pay for the app, which I don't like the idea of or anything like that. So I looked at reviews and I went on Reddit and I did some research and I found out the Inkbird sous vide machines are excellent and they are at a really good price. I think there's $69 off Amazon. So I jumped on it and I got it. So there's two different models at about the same set price. There is the ISV 100 and ISV 200. And the only difference is the actual temperatures on it. So when you're going to purchase one, just double check the temperatures on it and make sure they're going to be applicable to you. For the ISV 200, which is this one here, the controlling range is 0 degrees to 90 degrees. So there's a lot of things that we can do in that, including chocolate, or we're going to be cooking a steak in it, or even canning. If you're doing low temperature pasteurized, you need to keep it at a set temperature for quite a while. That's going to do an amazing job. So for this, I'm going to be using one of my very cheap Scotch fillet steaks or ribeye steaks. So that's been in the freezer and that's just been defrosted. So this was $14 a kilo and I'll slice it up myself. And I've already tried them out on the barbecue and they're excellent for the $15, but we're going to try them out on the sous vide and see how it goes. So one thing you do want to know is you want to have a pot actually deep enough to actually hold the sous vide machine. So the clip needs to be high enough so that it's not going to move or anything like that. And also there is a minimum fill line here as well. So you want to make sure it's going to fill up, quite past that. So I was looking at things that I could use because I don't like buying stuff. I could buy a container for a sous vide and everything, but that's money. So what I did was I got my water filter. We all say Australian water is like, the bomb and everything, but it's actually not great. So I've been filtering it. And all we're going to do is we're going to stand up our sous vide in here. Now, this plastic probably isn't made for reaching temperatures of like 100 degrees or anything like that, but we're only going to be heating this up to 57 degrees. So it should be more than fine. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to fill this up with water. All right, so that's filled up now. So you'll see there is a maximum fill line up here as well. You don't want that water to go past that. From what I understand, the top of this isn't waterproof. There is another model, I think it was the ISV 300, and that model is waterproof, but as long as you're careful, you're more than fine. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna plug this in now. And right, that water is now at 21.8 degrees Celsius. Very luckily, Inkbird has an app for the sous vide machine. So I'm going to actually do everything through the app. It's super easy. I haven't even touched these controls. The only thing I actually touched was to set up the Wi-Fi, and that was it. That was actually really easy to do. Some things it's just so hard to do. So all I'm going to do is going to open up the Inkbird app. And then we're going to select the ISV 200. And then on here, we've got our set temperature and our times. So from all the research that I've done is we want to cook this from 54 degrees to 57 degrees Celsius, which is between 130 and 135 degrees Fahrenheit. And a lot of the actual things that I've seen is to actually cook this at 57 degrees. And that's 135 degrees Fahrenheit. And the reason being is there's a lot of fat in this. And if we cook it at a higher temperature, that's very insulating and everything. So it's going to take longer for this to actually heat up. As well, this fat will also just render down. So we're going to cook this for 3 hours at 57 degrees and it should just turn out amazing. So I did all my research on Reddit out of all the places. I just find a lot of people have, a lot of opinions and everyone gives their honest feedback and everything. So today we're going to do 57 degrees. So I can set that on the app. And we're going to do 3 hours, which I'm going to set on the app. So I'm just going to hit start on that now. And now that has started now. And when that comes up to 57 degrees, it's going to do a beep. And that's when I can add my steak. So at the top there is the set temperature. And then down below is the current temperature. And then down below that is our set time and the remaining time as well. So it's still at 3 hours because we haven't started anything just yet. And you can see that water all circulating there, so that's excellent. From what I did yesterday, I just let this heat up to see how long it would take, and it took about 15 minutes to heat up, which is actually pretty fast. So once that's heated up, we're gonna add our steak. All right, so that's a beep there. So that is to indicate that we're ready to add our meat or whatever we're gonna be sous vide in there. So I've got a ribeye steak here that I've already vacuum sealed previously when I was actually portioning them up and everything. You could, if you wanted to, open this up, add some herbs, add some butter or something, and reseal it. I'm not gonna bother resealing it because one, it's just gonna be a pain, and secondly, it's gonna give me a really good side-by-side comparison as it goes, doing it on just cooking it on the barbecue as well. So I don't add any extra flavors or anything like that. I just wanted to see how it is just as is. So all we're gonna do is we're going to add this to the water bath. And you're going to need a clip or something just to hold that in place. So I've got this from my garage and I'm just going to stick that there. And that's just going to keep that steak just nice and submerged into that water. And we're going to cook this for 3 hours. Now, you can leave it in a water bath for just an hour and you can cook it straight after and be done. The reason why we're going to cook it for 3 hours is what's going to happen is it's not going to overcook it or anything because it's maintaining at 57 degrees. So it's going to keep the steak at a constant 57 degrees. But what it's going to do is it's going to just gently melt down all that fat in that ribeye. So when we go to actually barbecue it, we're not going to have any time to actually render the fat off or anything. And that's going to make all that fat nice and jelly and everything. And it's just going to cut like butter. So I'll see you back in 3 hours when we're ready for the next step. Well, since that is cooking that and it's maintaining temperature and everything, I don't have to worry about it. So I'm gonna make a coffee and I'm gonna go sit down. So I'm just gonna make a latte today. So this will automatically weigh my coffee out, which is fantastic. And for the coffee I'm using today is Diwa Coffee, which is an indigenous brand here in Australia. And it's actually pretty good. I'm quite impressed with it. And I've seen it only in Woolworths, so that's where you can get that from. So let's chuck that on. So I like more of a ristretto shot, so a little bit shorter than you usually do. And this thing is fantastic. It'll foam my milk in like 8 seconds. And that's done. Silky smooth. And I don't do any latte art or anything. So that looks pretty good. So I'm going to sit down, relax and drink this, and I'll see you back in about 2 hours. All right, so that's just finished now. So it's just going to beep until you press OK or confirm on the app. And now that is just turned off. So that's been 3 hours now. So now we can take our steak out. Now, it doesn't look too appealing. I'm going to be very honest with it, but everyone says that's completely normal. So what I failed to actually disclose is if you're going to cook below the 57-degree mark, you want to limit how long you actually cook it in here for, and that is 2 hours. And that is because bacteria grows up until 57 degrees. So 57 degrees, this is fully cooked now, but anything below 57 degrees is not fully cooked. So bacteria can still harbor it and everything. So keep that in mind. Because this is 57 degrees, this is going to be completely fine. So the next step, what we're going to do is we're going to open this up. We're going to pat it dry. And then I'm going to actually put this in the fridge. And the reason why we're going to put it in the fridge is it's actually going to chill the outside of it. So when it actually hits the barbecue, it's not going to have all that heat all transfer inside it and cook it right through. It's just going to hopefully just put a nice sear on the outside of it without cooking it anymore on the inside. So all I'm going to do is open this up. And I've just got some paper towel here. Oh, really? I had a little accident with this juice and the cleanup crew is on duty. All right, so now I'm going to put that into the fridge and I'm just going to let that chill while we're heating up the barbecue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on my barbecue and get that ripping hot. And while this is in the fridge as well, that's also going to help the outside of it, all that excess water all evaporate so that it's going to get a nice crust on it. All right, so I've let that chill in the fridge for about 5 minutes now. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to spray it with some olive oil. And I'm going to season it with some salt and pepper. Pepper's completely optional, but I like pepper on mine. And I'm going to be cooking mine on the barbecue, but if you want to do it in a cast iron frying pan on the stove, go for it. But I really just like the flavour the barbecue actually really gives. Some more salt on this side. And then we're going to take this outside and we're going to grill it for about a minute on each side until we get a nice crust on it. Now that we've actually chilled it a little bit, it shouldn't overcook. All right, so I've let that sit for about 5 minutes. Technically with sous vide, you don't actually need to let your meat rest because it's been cooked such a low temperature, but because we've put it on the barbecue and we've seared it for a little bit, I've just left it for a couple of minutes, and now we're going to slice into it and see how good it is. Let's go through the middle. And from what people have said, a sous vide steak will look a lot less pinker than it usually does, and it will actually colour up in a minute. And I'm going to say it looks pretty good. I'm quite impressed with that. Let's get it all sliced up and let's try some out. All right, I'm kind of excited. Let's give this a go. How beautifully cooked is that? Some people say it's more a medium, but I don't care if it's a medium. And even when you look at it, you see barely any grey bits from where it was actually seared, which is just excellent. It's say picked the whole lot. That is absolutely amazing. And when I've got the time, I'll definitely be cooking my steak in a sous vide. So with my steak tonight, I'm going to serve it with some of my triple cooked chips, and I'll post the video for that at the end of this. And if you want to try out a different way to do it as well, I've also tried just with a temperature probe and tried to actually do it that way as well, which was quite successful as well, but it takes a bit more effort. This was pretty easy. The only nerve-wracking thing was actually when I put this on the barbecue and it only cooked for like a minute, I was like, you know, it didn't feel right. It didn't feel right, but absolutely amazing. So if you have a sous vide machine, give this a go. So thanks for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Bye. Now, if you want to be extra naughty, make my triple cooked chips. Ho, ho, ho.